Hello, Cyn Doll here, coming at you with another video. And in this video we are going to talk about a very common skin condition, scalp condition called folliculitis. Folliculitis is a skin condition where the hair follicle becomes inflamed. This disorder is talking strictly about the hair follicle. That is what we're focusing on today. Staphylococcus aureus. If you want to cure your folliculitis, or if you want to learn if you got it, or if you just want to learn more about it in general, then make sure you keep watching. Staphylococcus aureus is a bacteria that lives on the human body. It can be caused by bacteria, fungi, shaving, friction from clothing, excessive sweating, and bad hygiene, or even viruses entering the hair's follicle. This is something that is very serious, but it's very simple to manage. But let's talk about it more before we hop into it. Folliculitis can be caused by a lot of different bacteria, but the one that we're talking about today, Staphylococcus aureus. Staphylococcus aureus is the bacteria that lives on the human body, period, in general, right? So it's not something that is coming from an outside source. This is something that is going to live on the human body in general. Have you ever heard of a staph infection? This bacterium is normally found on the skin of the human body, or just on the skin in general. We're talking about humans today. And because this bacteria lives on the skin, an overgrowth of this bacteria will lead to inflammation of the skin, aka the hair's follicle. It's normally found within the skin, on the skin, and within nasal passages within the human body, right? So skin and in your nose. It's considered the natural flora, like a natural bacteria of the body, so it's supposed to be there. The key in this video, don't try to skip off and be like, oh, let me figure out what to do to stop it, because you can't. It's something that is going to be on the body. But remember, you're in co-creation, so it's your job to make sure that the body has maintenance. Keep going. Under certain conditions, this flora, this natural flora within the body, can turn pathogenic, meaning it can turn into a bacteria that can attack certain parts of the body. This natural flora will cause a lot of it will convert into something a little less good if it goes unchecked and if it becomes overran. Now, you guys can hear the dog, and you just hear the dog. It's not my dog, it's the neighbor's dog. The neighbor's dog got put out, so she's not gonna stop barking until they let her back in the house. But if you want to learn more about the specific bacteria and all of that jazz, make sure you check the link in the description box below and read my full blog post. I break down all of the scientific names of each bacteria, where they come from, what they're doing within the body, and a lot more information. I feel like if I go into that on here, it's gonna make this video longer, drawn out, and it'll confuse you. So if you want to get nerdy and you want to know like the real scientific like wordage and verbiage for this bacteria, then link in the description box below. Not everybody, it's only a small group of people, 20 to 30%. So yes, this is a bacteria that lives on the human body, but there are certain groups of people that have an overabundance of this bacteria, and they should not have. But the number of 20 to 30% is a pretty low number, in my opinion. This flora within the body, when it is overran within the body, it has the ability to break down tissue. How does it do that? Well, these enzymes that are produced by this flora, toxins that damage host cells within the body, and adhesive molecules that help it stick to surfaces, you guys. So literally molecules that help this form of bacteria stick to the skin. Now this is another one. This is a really big one. It is known for its ability to develop a resistance against antibiotics, you guys. So if you have an overrun of this bacteria on the scalp, and you are constantly like trying different hair growth aids and stuff, and no matter what you do, nothing is working well, if you have an overgrowth of this bacteria on the scalp, then what it will do, it will slow down the body's ability to be able to fight off certain types of bacteria. So you are literally making your hair weaker by allowing this bacteria to overgrow on your scalp. So if you're a person that's like, no matter what I do, nothing's working, no matter what I do, nothing's working, this could be it. That could be it. Let's keep going. MRSA is a strain of this bacteria that has the ability to build a resistance, and it has built a resistance to most of the most commonly used antibiotics prescribed by dermatologists. This makes folliculitis a really difficult scalp disorder to treat because of its resistance, because of the scalp's resistance to treating antibiotics. So if you're a person who does not wash your hair on a regular basis and then you have folliculitis, or you have different scalp issues, or if you're a person who doesn't wash your hair on a regular basis and you have some of the symptoms that I'm going to give you in a second, this is why I'm telling you guys, shampooing your hair is so much more important than you think it is. And I'm telling you, I know y'all don't like when I bring it up, but the Team Natural movement put you guys in this pocket that made you believe that you were doing something good for your hair by not washing it, and it was the actual opposite. Because the more of this bacteria that you allow to build up on your scalp, the worse it is for your body and your overall health. Dirt does not make hair grow. Dirt gives you masterful follicle infections, especially folliculitis. Let's keep going. I want you to remember that this word right here, this means that this form of bacteria, it is meant to help spread a virus, right? It has the ability to spread this bacteria across the body, so it will spread fast on purpose if you let it. All right, it wants to live. This bacteria wants to live. So when people tell you the hair shaft is not alive and stuff, it is a whole lot of life going on that hair shaft. Okay, now staph infections can be very mild, but they can go into things that are very serious, like these listed here on the screen. So please remember that leaving your hair dirty, the whole saying dirt makes hair grow and dirt is healthy for your hair and not washing your hair is best. Oh my God, it could not be further from the truth. And here is your proof. You do not have to take my word for it. Let's keep going. This bacteria always is on the skin, but if you are shampooing your hair on a regular basis, you're not allowing it to build up, so that way it's not able to multiply. Like we talked about at the beginning, it's not able to multiply and it's not able to spread, because like I just said, that is what it is really meant to do, to spread. It has this really big like viral effect. It has the ability to spread viruses very fast. Like that's its jam, right? That's what it do. That's why it is your job to ensure that it is never able to be an overproduction of this bacteria, because if there's no overproduction of the bacteria, it can never make it into the hair follicle. But if you allow the hair follicle or the scalp, if you allow the scalp to be overrun by this bacteria and it makes it into the hair follicle, it will cause massive inflammation. All right, let's keep going. Now, I know some people are not gonna like what I have to say next, but that's just using products that have petroleum in them, or products that are highly comedogenic, or using oils on the scalp, highly comedogenic oils, or sometimes just oils in general on the scalp, can lead to folliculitis and are some of the most leading causes of folliculitis. What if I told you that a lot of the bacteria that lives on your scalp, one of their favorite foods and their favorite things to eat is oil? They love the sebum that comes out of your scalp, and they also love whatever oil you decide to give. So if you are a person who decides to, if like let's say your scalp is itching or it's burning or you're feeling any type of discomfort within the scalp, and then you add oil to it, what you'll notice is, oh, your scalp will feel better. Well, you didn't help. What you actually did, you just fed shed that bacteria that was living on your scalp. The itching, the burning, or the tension, whatever you were feeling, all of that discomfort on the scalp was coming from that live bacteria on the scalp eating away at your natural oils, right? So when your hair becomes infested with its natural oils, what happens is that sebum, and once that sebum accumulates on the scalp from either you not shampooing the hair or from you not combing your hair on a regular basis, which will be for a whole nother video, but by you not combing your hair on a regular basis, what then happens in return, that bacteria begins to spread. It begins to double, and it begins to spread the bacteria all over the hair, all over the scalp, and then it begins to tackle the follicles one at a time, because your follicles are not linked together. Every follicle on your scalp is independent. You have about 100,000 follicles on the scalp, and every last one of those follicles are independent. They have their own phone number. So the bacteria gets to the follicle one at a time as you allow this bacteria to accumulate on the scalp. Because when the follicle is blocked, it leads to a buildup of sebum within the hair's follicle. And when you have that buildup of sebum within the hair's follicle, remember, the different bacteria that lives on the scalp, its favorite food is sebum. So it is going to go and make its way to that place that has that overproduction of sebum. So you'll have a buildup of sebum within the follicle, and then you'll have all of the bacteria that is floating around in the world, creating not just the city but the world, making its way over to your scalp, because that's where all its favorite food is. You like a buffet. Because there's such a very, very big number of women who have the same type of follicle disorders, it's time to start looking at some of the habits that all of these women share. And one of the main habits that all of these women are sharing is the habit of greasing the scalp, right? Greasing the scalp with oils and butters. Now, a lot of oils, as an herbalist and as a cosmetologist for over a decade, I understand hair products and all of that, but hair products have their own place, right? And by constantly packing the scalp full of oils and butters, you are not helping, you're hurting, because the follicle already has oil, it already has sebum that has to make its way out. And the more oil you put within the follicle, the harder you make it for your natural oils to come out and touch the hair shaft. Because how are your natural oils going to touch the hair shaft if your hair shaft is already coated and sealed and locked with all of these products? One of the biggest things that people love to talk about with petroleum and stuff like that is like, oh, it locks in moisture, locking in moisture, or not locking in moisture. It helps you to moisturize your hair. It does nothing to add moisture to your hair. Absolutely nothing. It does, petroleum does one thing and one thing only. It creates a barrier and it blocks things. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, and if you don't agree, then I understand, but I would like to believe that my creator did everything for a reason, and I would like to believe that my cuticle opens and closes at will for a reason. So anything that I do to permanently lock or put a blockade on my follicle doesn't really make sense. I can't see that being something that is better for my hair, me locking my cuticle down. That don't really make sense to me. Petroleum in general is petroleum, mineral oil, the gasoline that you put in your car, all the same, right? It's the big black tar that is on the bottom of the seat. They put this big machine at the bottom, they take that tar out, then they put it in this machine, and then they heat it up. And at different temperatures you get different things. At one temperature you get the gasoline you pump it in the car, at one temperature you get mineral oil, at another temperature you get petroleum, and only thing that it does, it creates a barrier. So within the hair salon, the main objective, that one of the main usages of petroleum within the hair salon is putting a barrier on the hairline to make sure that you can block the follicle, so that way different products cannot get in, right? That is it. That is all it does on the skin. When you put petroleum on the skin, it, just like I told you, it does when we use it in the hair salon to block the hair follicles from getting any chemicals or anything like that in it. It does literally the same exact thing, right? But what it does, instead of blocking blocking chemicals from getting in, it is thought in theory to block the body's natural moisture from getting out. So this is the moisture that you already have present within the body from getting out. That is what the petroleum's for. And then when they initially found it, it was when people were working like in like really hot climates, men that was working like crazy, and they would burn themselves. So they would take the petroleum, because it creates a barrier. They would take the petroleum and they would put the petroleum on top of their burned skin and anywhere it was, so it could create that barrier that it needed for them, right? Barrier, that's all it's doing. Water loss, again, the body naturally loses water. Like when you sweat, here's the scientific name for it. I won't go all into that. If you want all the scientific names for stuff and you want to be nerdy with me, go over to my blog. But you naturally sweat, so the petroleum helps your body from releasing the sweat, not because it's doing anything with the sweat, but or oil and water, they repel each other, like they go against each other. So the sweat that's in your body is not going anywhere, right? The moisture that's in your body is not going anywhere. It's actually just staying in there. And this is the thing, a lot of times you would think, oh, I'm holding moisture, that's a good thing. But a lot of times things that are trying to leave your body are leaving for a reason. And when you hold them in is when you get inflammation, right? Because things are not supposed to be locked in. Your body's not dumb. God is a masterful creator. If you are sweating, if you're perspiring, if something is trying to leave your body, it's trying to leave for a reason. Putting petroleum on your body to block water from leaving or to block something from leaving is like putting a plug in your booty when you on the toilet to keep yourself from boo-booing. Like, that's why your stomach is rumbling, because you gotta do it. Why would you gonna put a blood plug in while you sitting on the toilet? Why would you do that? So because of the barrier, it will slow down the evaporation process, because water and oil and petroleum, they're trying to stay as far away from each other as they can. Water does not hold oil. But if you take some petroleum and you put it on your skin and then you drop water on it, the petroleum is not going to then take in the water into itself and hold it. No, it's going to like detract it. Like, it's gonna be like, get away from me. The water is gonna sit directly on top of it. The petroleum is not porous. It does not open up to allow anything to come inside. All it does is block. If your body's natural water content isn't up to par, then you putting Vaseline on your body would give you the illusion of having moisturized skin, because it is stopping any type of moisture that you do have within the body from leaving, right? Does that mean you have moisturized skin? No, it means you have a barrier that is producing an illusion. So instead of you putting petroleum on, what you can do is just increase your water intake. So that way you don't have to worry about trying to keep your body from losing moisture. Your body will release and absorb moisture as it needs to, and you won't have to worry about locking in moisture. And now the same exact thing happens for your hair. As it pertains to your hair, the hair shaft itself does not hold any moisture within itself. It's a fact. Google it or look it up on the way I taught you in this video, because it's a certain way. You don't do regular Google, you do medical journals. Look it up on a medical journal, all right? And so after you look that up, you can clearly see that the hair does not hold any water or any moisture within itself. And when people tell you, oh, the hair shaft is dead, that is a lie. The nerves in the hair shaft are dead, so that way when you get a trim, it's not excruciating pain like it would be if I cut your skin. And then two, the hair shaft, just the cuticle layer of the hair shaft is dead, because it is made up of dead keratin cells laid on top of each other. But the cortex of the hair shaft is very alive, and the medulla is very alive. Everybody does not have a medulla, but the people who do, it is very alive. All right, so that is something that I really need you to be aware of. And I also want you to know that your hair follicle is still attached to the blood supply. Your hair is very, very alive. It is. And if that dead thing that you want to call dead, if it splits to that hair shaft, it is going to detach itself. So do not let the saying of, oh, the hair shaft is dead confuse you, because it's not. If you want to learn more more about different ways that you can get moisture into the body other than drinking water, because H2O, there's something else right here. If you want to learn more about this right here, then let me know in the comments below. Say, hey Cyn, I want to learn more about this. And I'm not saying it out loud, I want you to type it. Using petroleum based products like your Blue Magic Pink Oil Moisturizer, I'll leave a couple of them up here on the screen. Using petroleum based products can lead to different things like folliculitis, seborrheic dermatitis, eczema, and a lot of different things that attack the hair follicle, dandruff, and so many other things, because at the end of the day, that is simply when the natural hair growth cycle has been thrown off because of an overproduction of sebum within the follicle. So a pro of petroleum based products is they create a barrier. They create a barrier that allows you to retain length because they create a barrier on the hair shaft. It's really, really good at retaining length for that purpose, right? But on the ends, if you just have to use it for whatever reason, you just can't let it go. If you do use it, never on the scalp, always on the ends, because absolutely, yes, it will help you to retain the length because it puts that barrier there. But the scalp does not need a barrier. It actually, that's the last thing that the scalp needs, is a barrier. Number one, I want you to go for, if you are a person, because I'm not about to try to get nobody to stop doing nothing, do what you want to do. I don't recommend you putting oil period on the scalp unless you have some type of infection that you're trying to fight and you have a certain formulation mixed by a professional, or you know what you're doing, right? But other than that, I don't recommend you putting oils on the scalp period. But if you are going to do that, don't do that. I'm not telling you to do that. Make sure that it is a non-comedogenic oil, and a non-comedogenic oil means an oil that is not going to block the pores of the follicle. The word comedogenic means a product's ability to block the pores, right? So you want to use things like hemp seed oil, almond oil, walnut oil. These are all oils that are low on the comedogenic scale. But I also need you to remember that bacteria that lives on the body, bacteria, especially the bacteria that lives on the scalp, its favorite food is oil. So I know that we like to think that we're doing something good for the body by constantly packing the scalp full of oil, but literally all you doing is feeding the little chickens that live on your scalp. That's literally all you're doing. Your scalp already has oil. You are not giving your scalp anything that it doesn't have the ability to get on its own. You doing it for nothing. Don't get mad. Don't get mad at me. It's true. Number two, really simple. Like this is so simplistic. Number two is going to be regular cleansing. Like literally all you have to do is shampoo your hair. No specific shampoo, no like super special shampoo, no like super like scrubby dubby way to shampoo, no super top secret shampoo underneath the ground that only a select elite few know about. So I want you to remember, whenever you guys say you want to lock something in, whenever you're locking in, you're also locking things out. So whenever petroleum is placed on the scalp, it creates a barrier that prevents the follicle from getting really, really vital key nutrients that it needs from the environment and from the hair's follicle itself, because the follicle is full of petroleum. The petroleum does nothing. It has no purpose whatsoever but to create a barrier. So if you fill the follicle up with something that's only purpose is to create a barrier, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to create a barrier. And this barrier is going to keep bacteria from leaving, and it's going to keep it inside. And this bacteria we talked about today, it is known for spreading. It is known for repopulating itself in clusters, and you're going to lock it in the follicle with petroleum. Of course, we all know that petroleum, and lastly, of course, we all know that petroleum based products, they end up weighing the hair down, making the hair feel a lot heavier, and making the hair feel like really heavy, really greasy. So yeah, I think I said 2 regular cleansing, washing your hair on a regular basis. Washing your hair is so much easier than you think it is. Oh my god, like it's like the end all be all to a whole bunch of our problems. You know, like so many of these hair problems will be done and gone with if y'all would just pull out some shampoo. I swear to god, like I'm so serious. Like, just wash your hair. Folliculitis is one of the fastest ways to get rid of it. It's just starting to wash your hair on a regular basis. I swear to god, like no medication, no nothing. Just wash your hair. Just wash it. That's it. Next up, you're going to avoid using products that are really heavy on the scalp. Products that have the ability to clog the follicle. These are going to be products rich in oils that are high on the comedogenic scale, like a 4 or the 5 on the comedogenic scale, way too high. A couple of examples. Or products that contain mineral oil or petroleum. These are products that people with folliculitis should stay far away from. If you have folliculitis or anything like it, like seborrheic dermatitis, the last thing you want to do is put oil on a follicle that has an overproduction of oil. It makes no sense. That's like trying to let air out of a balloon by putting more air in it. I mean, that will let the air out, but it'll pop and then you ain't gonna be able to put no air in it no more. Just like if you fill the follicle up with too much oil, the follicle gonna pop and it ain't gonna be no air in there no more. So it's the same thing. Just keep your scalp clean. Just shampoo your hair. If you shampoo your hair once a week or once every 2 weeks, you don't even have to worry about having the overgrowth of that bacteria. And the thing is, yeah, I'm saying a week, yeah, I'm saying 2 weeks, but in the summertime, for example, I'll talk about some more stuff with myself coming up soon, but for myself, for an example, sometimes I need to wash my hair more than once in a week because of what my body deals with. I'll have so much sweat formulating within my follicle that I could literally feel the bacteria within my follicle. So I have to wash it out, because when I don't, it makes my hair thin out, and then it makes my hair fall out because of what my body deals with medically. And if you want to know more about that, leave it in the description box below. But for that reason, I have to make sure that I keep a clean scalp and I listen to my body. So even though I'm saying, okay, you can do a week, 2 weeks, just because I said a week or 2 weeks, if your scalp is itching or burning or anything, go wash it, period. Don't go put oil on it like that's gonna help it. No, go wash your hair. There's something within your follicle, and that feeling that you're feeling is your body trying to communicate that there's a problem with you. All right, so that is vitally important. So let's get into some prevention and some things that you can do now to get rid of the inflammation. After you went ahead and cleansed the follicles so you don't have any more inflammation and any more blockages, try that with Olaplex 4C. Once you have no more blockages whatsoever, the next thing you now need to do is go into some preventative measures, and you're gonna learn all about those in part 2, because we've been talking for a while. So stick around for part 2. Link is gonna be in the description box. Link is gonna be in the description box below, and I'll see you over there.